Hello, hello, and welcome again. Welcome again to the podcast. Welcome. This is Dr. William R. Morrison IV MD, PsyD, PhD, internal medicine physician, clinical psychologist, and PhD in nutritional biochemistry. And I am really happy to be with you all today. And it's going to be a fascinating lecture today. Again, these lectures and the podcast and the entire channel is for educational purposes only, and it is not designed to treat, diagnose any disease, or perform any therapy, way, shape, or form. It's for educational purposes only. So let's have some fun. Let's have a good time. So we're going to talk about the science of stress and recovery and how to rewire your mind and body for calm and focus. So a lot of people are really stressed out now. They just have a lot on their mind. They watch the news, and it's just really stressful. A lot of people feel really, really stressed right now. And I really feel this is right on time. So we're going to jump right into it. So again, today's the title for today is The Science of Stress and Recovery and How to Rewire Your Mind and Body for Calm Focus. So I like to start with, okay, what is stress? Everybody has their own idea of stress. So I want you to take a moment and just think about what stress is in your life. And we're just going to go ahead and talk about the science of stress. So when you think about stress, stress is not an enemy. What it is actually a signal. It's actually the body's way of preparing you to meet a challenge, okay? So the problem arises when that signal, it just never turns off. The light switch is just on and it just does not turn off. And when we have a healthy rhythm, stress will surge briefly. It's a brief stress to say, hey, let me bring your attention to something. There's a danger or there's something to be aware of. The heart rate will rise, your muscles will tense and tighten, and the focus will narrow. But then the system will turn off and you'll go back to a balance. But of course, we live in the real world, and in the modern world we live in, life often traps us in a state of chronic activation where the switch for stress is on. It just gets on and stays on. So what happens to us over time, this continuous tension, you're not going to believe this, it actually can rewire the nervous system toward alertness instead of recovery. That is significant. That is amazing how an outside influence can affect you on the inside. And underlying this process, understanding the process of this, it will give you control when you can name the stress and figure out the stress and recognize it. You can shape it. So what's going on inside the brain? The brain is sort of like, when we see a picture of the brain, it just looks like a giant mass of noodles. That's what it looks like. But the brain is very organized. It's almost like a puzzle that you put together and you have all these little pieces. I mean, the brain itself is extremely complicated. I mean, people spend years studying just the structure of the brain. That's how complicated it is. But we're not going to spend years today, okay? So we're going to make it kind of streamlined, okay? It's more complicated than what I'm saying, but here's a basic understanding of it. So the three main regions that orchestrate your stress response, because we're going to focus on that aspect of the brain. So once again, the three major regions that orchestrate your stress response, that organize your response, the brainstem. So your brainstem is your autopilot for your heartbeat, breathing, and your reflexes. So your brainstem does a lot of what we call automatic functions of your body. I mean, you don't have to think about breathing. You don't have to think about your heart beating. So your brain stem is in control of that. Now, the limbic system is located deep inside the brain, okay? And what that is the emotional center that detects threat and records memories. So the limbic system is fascinating. for instance, smell, the sense of smell is very, very tied to the emotions of the limbic system. You can walk into a cookie shop or bakery and you can smell those chocolate chip cookies and you can smell those cookies cooking, and it instantly you're taken back to your childhood when your mom was making cookies and bringing them out, or your grandmother making cake, or you remember the smell of a Christmas tree or any other type ornaments, or you smell, go outside and wow, what is that? Roses. I remember there were roses outside in the garden that I used to play in as a child, and you're instantly taken back to your childhood. So the limbic system is the emotional center of the brain, and smell is very tied to emotions, and the sense of taste also is tied to emotions, but not as strongly as the sense of smell. The sense of smell seems to be very tied to emotions. So again, the limbic system, the emotional center that detects threats and records memories. So the prefrontal cortex, the other region, is a logical planner that chooses how to respond. So the prefrontal for the prefrontal cortex is a part of the brain that is involved with, making decisions, logical responses. I mean, okay, cars are coming at you on the road. Okay, you know that. Okay, I need to stop at the stop sign and let these cars pass. Or you're in the middle of a lecture and they're talking about something very important with the stock market. Well, you're not going to blurt out ice cream in the middle of the lecture, because the prefrontal cortex, the prefrontal cortex is going to say, no, wait a second here. We're not talking about that right now. We're not talking about ice cream. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the stock market. So the prefrontal cortex, is involved with that. So during pressure, okay, the limbic system sounds the alarm before the prefrontal cortex finishes its reasoning. So what does that mean? So that's why anger, fear, or panic feel instant. You see, you will feel afraid of something or fearful for something before you know what it is, before the prefrontal cortex can say, hey, that's what this is. But sometimes, have you ever said, I'm scared to death but I don't know why? Well, the prefrontal cortex lags behind the area of emotion that we refer to as the limbic system. So during pressure, the limbic system will sound the alarm before the prefrontal cortex is actually finishing its reasoning. So once again, that's why anger and fear and panic, they feel instant. So practices that slow breathing or focus attention, they give the prefrontal cortex time to step back in and restoring judgment and perspective. Okay, so it's very common that we get stressed out, and if we take a deep breath and kind of relax and breathe in and out, what that does is it gives the prefrontal cortex time to step back in, and that restores judgment as well as perspective. So each time you calm yourself after stress, these brain circuits will strengthen. A living example of what we refer to in the field of psychiatry and psychology is called neuroplasticity. That's the brain's capacity to rewire with experience. So I'm going to get into a little bit of chemistry, but it's not going to be horrifying, okay? So your feelings, they have a biochemical signature. Our body communicates through chemicals, through molecules, and we're going to briefly talk about a few of these. Cortisol and adrenaline, what they do is they mobilize energy. Dopamine motivates, Serotonin stabilizes the mood, and oxytocin actually will foster trust and connection. So, short bursts of cortisol will sharpen focus, but chronic exposure does the opposite. It will dull memory and blunt emotions, okay? So, prolonged stress causes cortisol to go up, but remember, brief periods of it will sharpen focus, but prolonged periods will actually blunt emotion. And that's not good. So, prolonged imbalance reduces dopamine, draining motivation. Recovery practices such as sleep, laughter, exercise, and reflection can restore these chemicals naturally. It's okay to laugh. There's nothing wrong with laughing, experiencing comedy. That actually is good for us. So, if you have a favorite comedian or you're just around someone who makes you laugh, that's good. Have you ever been around somebody who makes you laugh? And when you leave that person, you actually say, hey, that person made me feel good. I actually feel good. That person told some jokes and it was great. Well, that actually helped to restore some balance. It helped to restore the balance of some dopamine and the balance of cortisol. So, another thing is guided reset. So, also during this podcast, particular one, we're going to talk about how to reset this stress. Talking about stress is one thing, but what can we do about it? So, breathing for balance. Wherever you are, I just want you to take a moment. Now, remember, not if you're driving. If you're someplace safe where you can sit down and not be harmed, I want you to exhale completely. Now, inhale through your nose for 4 seconds. Hold for 2 seconds and exhale through your mouth for 6 seconds. And repeat it 5 times. As you breathe, your vagus nerve signals to your heart to slow down. And you can feel your body saying, oh my goodness, oh my gosh, we're safe. We can rest now. So it's very important to take time to relax, take time to do some meditation. It helps. So what's the body side of this story? What is that? Sleep. Well, during deep sleep, the brain cells actually shrink very slightly, allowing cerebrospinal fluid to flush away waste. So this nightly cleansing lowers inflammation and resets mood. So a single lost night's sleep, what does that do? A single lost night's sleep raises the amygdala reactivity. Now the amygdala is your threat detector that it's always in the background, okay? And what it does is it raises the amygdala, which is the stress detector, up by half, okay? So what that does is it actually increases the activity of the amygdala. So by raising the activity of the amygdala, that part of the brain, which again is always on the lookout for a threat, causes you to feel edgy. That's why if you don't get enough sleep, first of all, certain repair mechanisms that the brain requires, guess what, people? They only take place while you're sleeping. So there's certain things that the brain needs to do and take care of and clean up and that type of thing, but it can only happen while you're asleep. So that's very, very important. So, and then a lost night of sleep actually raises the amygdala activity. That's why when people don't get enough sleep, they're edgy, they're irritable, and they're jumpy. Next time, pay attention to someone who hasn't gotten enough sleep and see how they act. And also, nutrition plays a big role. So The gut produces most of your serotonin, which is kind of scary, but it's true. Foods rich in omega 3s, leafy greens, fiber, and fermented ingredients. What that does is they nurture the microbes. See, we have microbes that live in our intestines. We call it our microbial flora. And there are good bacteria and bad bacteria. But thank goodness there's more good bacteria than bad inside of us. And what happens is these microbes support a stable mood by producing serotonin. And excess sugar, processed fats, what that does is they ignite inflammation, making the body act as if it were under attack. Processed foods, that's a whole lecture on its own, but I advise you to look up what processed foods are. But I'm pretty sure all of you out there know what that is. That can increase inflammation. And I think everyone on earth knows what happens when you have excess sugar. That's never good for anything. Movement, exercise is very important. Exercise releases endorphins that reduces the cortisol and actually stimulates new neural growth. So exercise is more than your muscles. It actually helps your mind. Even 10 minutes of walking can actually calm the limbic system and boost clarity. The limbic system is the part of the brain that's involved with emotions. And if the limbic system is overreactive, you can become extremely emotional and extremely edgy. And walking helps to calm down your limbic system. Now, we talked briefly about the intestines. So there is the gut-brain connection. So your digestive system actually contains its own nervous system, okay? And your gut actually contains about 100 million neurons. Now, that's a lot of neurons, okay? Signals travel along the vagus nerve from the gut to the brain faster than thought. Now, that's very important. So, signals travel along the vagus nerve from the gut to the brain faster than thought. When digestion is inflamed, the brain interprets danger. Again, when digestion is inflamed, the brain interprets that as danger. When the gut is nourished, the brain relaxes. So, yes, your intestines can actually affect your brain. They can. So, that's very important. There is a brain gut connection. And again, this is for educational purposes only. I advise you to educate yourself. I know we have the podcast, but go ahead and read about that gut-brain connection. So when we take care of our digestion, it's not just vanity, it's emotional hygiene. So that's the best way to look at that. So guided reflection. Where you hold stress. Where do you hold stress? Where is it? Notice your body right now, okay? I know you may not be in front of a mirror, but just notice your body. Notice how you feel. Where is tension hiding? Do your shoulders feel tight? Are you grinding your jaw? And does your stomach feel like, oh my goodness, there's a cramp that just won't stop? Place on that area, wherever it is on your body that feels stressed out. Breathe into it deeply. What I mean is breathe gently and out. Okay? Each exhale is permission for the body to release control. Awareness turns unconsciousness, tension, into conscious choice. Okay? So it's very important that we take time to meditate. A lot of people kind of say, oh, meditation, oh my goodness, that stuff isn't true. That stuff doesn't, it does work. It does work. And if you try it, you won't knock it. Try it. So now we're going to talk about resilience in action, okay? So resilience is not about just being tough. It's not about being tough. I can take it. I can deal with stress. I can handle everybody's problems. No. You're going to burn yourself out being that person. And everyone knows who that is. So it's more about flexibility under a load, okay? So when you have a setback in life, okay, you know, that job didn't come through, that house you're trying to get fell through. You knew that stock was going to make you some money and it just didn't. So when setbacks come, resilient people ask, what is this teaching me? Instead of, why is this happening to me? We have to ask, what is this teaching me? What can I learn from this? Techniques that build resilience include cognitive reframing. Reinterpret stress as a challenge. We're reframing it. We're reframing what's just happened to us. Also, micro recovery, short pauses during the day to reset posture and breathing helps. And connection, talking with a friend or mentor releases oxytocin, which quiets the threat system. I just want you to know that every time you recover intentionally, your body learns efficiency instead of exhaustion. So, daily mental fitness, what is that all about? So, true recovery is built from small, consistent habits. So, morning light. Now, we are very reactive to light as human beings. We're more reactive to light than we would think we are. So, morning light, sunlight within an hour of waking anchors your body's clock. Now, if it's cloudy, I can't help you with that, okay? But morning light, they have found, such as morning sunlight within an hour of waking, anchors your body's clock. Mindful pause. Before screens, take 5 deep breaths or reflect in silence, okay? So, looking at screens, okay? Computer screens. Your phone is considered a screen. We need to limit that. We need to take a pause. We need to take a pause, step away from the screens. And before you start getting into your computer screens, your TV screens, whatever, for work, or even pleasure sometimes, first of all, you gotta just take a deep breath and just calm yourself. You know you're about to get on that computer and you're gonna look up a whole bunch of stuff, or your phone, you're about to check those emails. You say, wait a minute, I need a break. Before I start looking at these screens and staring at all that blue light, I'm going to take a breath. And then the importance of movement. A brisk walk or stretch or short workout signals vitality, okay? So it signals your brain to say, hey, it's time to rejuvenate. Walking, any type of physical activity actually helps the brain, helps with stress. Are you getting enough water to drink? Are you eating right? Because stable blood sugar actually helps to stabilize your mood. If you're eating poorly, eating a lot of junk food, eating things that your mama told you shouldn't eat, well, that's going to actually increase stress as well. When it's time to just chill out and relax, it's evening. I call that the evening wind down. Now, that's something that I do. Everything that I've just mentioned are things that I do. But this in particular, dim the lights. You got to just get ready to relax. You don't need a lot of light in your face when you're trying to calm down. And then gratitude in the evening. You know, every evening, you should be saying to yourself, what am I thankful for? What do I have in my life? Are there people that love me? Are there people that I love? Do I have a job that I like? Do I have the ability to think on my own? Do I have the ability to sit back and say, look, I have a bed and a pillow. I have covers to put over me. There's a roof over my head. There are a lot of people that cannot say that, and I feel for them. But if you are one of those people that have that, you really need to sit back and say, I am grateful, and I'm going to show gratitude for the things that I have. Because remember, it doesn't have to be that way. It really doesn't. And there are a lot of people out there that wish they were just like you. They wish they had what you have right now. They wish they had a plate of food, a refrigerator, and a door they could open and go inside and close it. Let's just be real. So these tiny routines that I mentioned help to tell your body that, hey, we're going to make it, and we're not going to let anybody hold us down. And that is very important for identity and self-compassion. And I tell people, please stop hating on yourself. Please stop looking in the mirror and saying what's wrong with you. Please stop looking at your life and saying how much better someone else's life is compared to yours. I call that hating on yourself. So you don't even give the haters a chance to hate on you because you're hating on yourself. You don't need to do that. You really don't. Love yourself. Show yourself some compassion. Many high achievers, they measure worth by productivity now. But your value is not your output. When fatigue arrives, your body is requesting maintenance, not punishment. Ask this question. What am I needing right now rather than what's wrong with me? What do you need? You might be in need of something. And sometimes we don't know what we need. So the first thing we need to do is we need to figure out, what do I need? And that shift in judgment to curiosity actually rewires self-talk and restores balance. So once again, I keep talking about meditation because it is real. I meditate. I do it every day. And it's real. And of course, you have to be home to do this. I know a lot of times people listen to the podcast while they're driving, and that's fine. I've gotten many messages and texts and so forth about my podcast and how they listen to it on the way home and how relaxing it is. And I think that's wonderful. And they'll listen to the part about meditating, but they don't do it while they're driving. But if you're home, okay, I want you right now to close your eyes if possible. I want you to picture yourself in a place where you feel calm. I want you to picture yourself where you feel calm. Perhaps a quiet field, there's water rushing. The water is cool on your feet, but the air is warm. Perhaps you're in a peaceful room and the air smells so clean, just like flowers. And you see gentle light around you. And each inhale gathers strength and power and control, and people can't hold you down with negativity. And each exhale releases tension. That tension is being released. And imagine your heartbeat and breathing are together. You're synchronized. Your heart is calm. Your breathing is calm. And when you open those eyes, I want you to carry that calmness with you all day. And you can do this meditation anytime you want when you're in a safe place. before you go to work, when you come home, or maybe during your lunch break. And what is the long game? What is a long-term thing? The long-term idea about everything I just said. So, sustainable well-being depends on rhythm, stress. Okay, so when I mean rhythm, I'm talking about the rhythm of, it's a pattern, okay? So just hear me out here. The rhythm of stress, recovery, and growth. So I'm going to touch a little bit about athletes, because a lot of things athletes do can be applied to everyday life. So athletes train, they rest, then train again. And your nervous system works the same way. Now this is something that is a very important concept. Too little stress breeds weakness, but too much stress without recovery breeds burnout. So there's a balance. See, a little bit of stress helps to alert you, helps to strengthen you, but too much will burn you out. So we have to have a balance. And balance is performance science. That's what that is called, performance science. And that's what athletes do. So plan recovery. Plan recovery. Now, what I mean is plan recovery the same way you plan work. Schedule rest. Rest should be scheduled into your life and your day. I want you to schedule rest. I want you to schedule laughter. You got to laugh. Have you ever met somebody that's uptight all the time? They don't laugh. Well, there are many reasons for that they could be going through, okay? But the fact that they lost the ability to laugh affects them. And there could be a whole slew of reasons why they can't laugh. They could be depressed. They could have lost somebody. They could just be miserable with the circumstances in their life. And it's sad. But if you are able to laugh, laugh. Okay? I want you to laugh. Music, believe it or not, we have a part of our brain that actually is involved with interpreting music, creating music, rhythm. We are designed to interpret music and enjoy music. And if you're able, and if you have time, or if you have friends, friendship is important. Keep your friends. Keep your friends close. Friendship is good. And prayer. There's nothing wrong with praying. There's nothing wrong with that, no matter what your religion is, no matter what your belief system is. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We have to respect everybody's religion. And we have to be tolerant of people that may have a religion that's different from ours. So prayer is important. It really, really is. So as, we talk about the topics today, visualization and planning these areas in our life is very important. And I want you to remember, recovery is not the opposite of ambition. It's the fuel that keeps ambition alive, okay? And it's very important to understand that concept. So, in closing today, we talked about how stress begins. We talked about how it travels through the body and recovery reverses its effects. We also practice breathing techniques, awareness and visualization, and we talked about simple tools that help to regulate the powerful biology of stress. And remember, every conscious breath, every night of real rest, every act of gratitude teaches your nervous system peace. And remember, you are not at the mercy of stress. You are the architect of recovery and brilliance because you are brilliant. You are a warrior. You have been through it all and you have made it. And you're going to keep making it. And you're going to keep striving to be your best. And nobody is going to stop you. No one's going to stop you. And I just want to thank you so very much for spending time with this educational lecture in our life coach podcasting system that we've been doing. And I just want to thank you so much because this particular topic, the science of stress and recovery and how to rewire your mind and body for calm focus is real. And once again, I'm Dr. William Rohimbox Morrison IV MD, PsyD, PhD, internal medicine physician, clinical psychologist, and nutritional biochemistry specialty. And I just want to thank you all. And I just want you to know that these podcasts, the videos, they're part of a larger idea that I have of spreading this good news and spreading this positivity all over the world. And I just want you all to remember that I'm excited about this process. And I want you to know that it's a community. I'm going to be performing what we call live feeds. I'm going to go live pretty soon. And when I do, it's going to be a big event. It's going to be worldwide. It is going to be something that everyone is going to take part of. That's part of the channel. Tell a friend. Share this video and this channel and this audio podcast and all the videos with everybody you know. And I just want you to have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful day. And take care. And thank you for your time.